Welcome to the Halftime Podcast, a 15-minute show where two panellists with opposing views must discuss why theirs is the best, and you get to decide the winner.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Halftime Podcast brought to you by halftimecuppa.com. Today I'm joined by, again, two fantastic panellists in the form of Charlie Pumfrey and Jake Thomas. Welcome back to another show, gents.
Hi, Danny.
Oh, there we go. Delayed response, but always great to hear from you both. Today's going to be an interesting one. Today certainly is going to be an interesting one. We're joined by Jake, who's obviously a Fulham fan. So I'm sure he's going to have a rather interesting view on this. But we're going to be talking about Ryan Sessegnon. And essentially, both Jake and Charlie are going to be discussing what sort of future Ryan Sessegnon has. And we'll come on to that in due course. But don't forget to cast your views in the comment section below, as well as the poll too. Let us know what you think there. Okay, let's begin then. Jake.
Hello.
Why do you think Ryan Sessegnon has caught so much attention?
Well, let me tell you, Danny, if you're short a player, let me restart. Ryan Sessegnon is 18. He's got 16 goals this season, and I believe, I'm tempted to say 9 assists following his assist in the playoff final, Tom Caney. Not only that, he's only really played half the season in a forward position. Half the season he was at left back. That's going to take your eye regardless. But the fact is, it's not even a sense of the numbers, it's how he sort of performs on the pitch. Like, he works harder than most of them on the pitch, and it's the way he gets into the positions that determines his success. It's not a case of he doesn't sort of blitz it. He will very subtly get into the sort of positions of a striker from left wing and do it with such a calm manner that you forget that he is only, he's been 17 for most of the season. And I think it's that sort of subtle approach that makes you think, all right, he's probably going to be a top player. If he's doing it now, there are players that go through their entire career not ever sort of reaching that level. And he's already there.
Okay, he's already there. Charlie, do you agree, disagree with that?
Agree.
He's a fantastic player. From what I've said, I haven't seen him and thought he's been poor. But he's only 18. There's a long way to go. And there have been, as fantastic as he's been, there's a tale of caution from many players, especially English players, that have been fantastic at a young age and either had a fairly middling career and done fairly well, or have gone on and not really have sort of dropped off the face of the earth. I mean, for every Ryan Sessegnon, there's a Francis Jeffers or a James Vaughan come onto the scene really early, do score lots of goals, and then never really deliver. I think the next step for him is the big deal. About does he stay at Fulham now that Fulham have been promoted? Does he stay there for another season or two and try and really deliver for them in the top division, or does he now say, actually, look, I've proven myself enough to go to a team in the upper areas of the league and sort of say, or even abroad, and really prove himself there?
Yeah, Jake, what do you think is the right thing for Sessegnon to do? Obviously,
100% stay at Fulham, 100%. And I'm not just saying that either. I say that knowing that he's been at the club since he was, a wee boy. He knows the club. Everyone knows him. He knows the manager. The manager's the one that's given him the chance, remember. This is a manager that believes in him. He knows what he's capable of. He trusts him to pick him week in, week out. I think at one point, the kid hadn't had a game off all season up until February. They know how he plays. Now that we've been promoted, he knows he's going to get Premier League football as well. Why wouldn't you want to experience that with the club that you've got there with, that you've been with all your life, and is literally a boyhood club, in my opinion, anyway.
Okay. Flip side, Charlie, what are you thinking? Is Fulham the right place for Sessegnon for next season and beyond?
I think the thing for Sessegnon now is game time. I think staying at this level that Jake has said, he's played pretty much as many games this season as I can think of. But I think for him as well, it's a case of he needs to be playing with quality players as well. That needs to come in as well. That he needs a chance to develop alongside some really quality players. And no disrespect to Fulham, staying there for a year doesn't sound like a bad idea. But I think
say it. Go on, say it.
I think it's okay. He probably does need to move on. He needs to move on from Fulham. If it's not this summer, it's next summer.
I completely agree at some point.
But the time is soon,
for this coming year, 100% stay at Fulham. Because it's one thing to do in the Championship, it's another thing to do in the Premier League. He might, for whatever reason, look completely bang average in the Premier League. But if it were me in that position, I would want to do it with the players and the staff that I've done it with for the past year and a half. Because it's not just this season he's come onto the sort of limelight, really. He's got a hat-trick past Newcastle in the Championship and then shushed the Newcastle fans. For me, if it were my decision, I would want to stay with the club that's supported me throughout. And the one I feel most comfortable with as well, which I think would be Fulham.
Going back to Charlie then, why do you feel that he may be better off moving on?
Because I think any player, if they really want to develop, and unfortunately it's a case for every small club, if a player comes through to the extent that Ryan Sessegnon's come through, they'll have to move on. They'll need to go somewhere else to really prove themselves at a high level. And I think for Sessegnon, that's going to have to come through going to a bigger team, whether that be in England, whether that be, abroad would be a fantastic option for him. But yeah, I think it's definitely a case of picking the opportunity right, because if he goes to a club like Man United, it could ruin him. And you look at Luke Shaw, he went at a very young age.
Yeah.
And he found himself through injury, maybe through his attitude, there's other issues there, but he's found himself on the outside now, a few years later. And I think he has to be really careful. And even if he goes to a team like Tottenham, the opportunity might not come there. For every Dele Alli.
There's no guarantees. This is the thing. There's no guarantees if he were to move wherever. I think at least with Fulham, for the time being, he knows what he's going to get. He knows that, he's probably going to start most games. He's done it for the last year and a half. The manager obviously trusts him or he wouldn't pick him. Don't get me wrong, if you want to succeed, you've got to make the moves to the big clubs. He's got a good enough head on his shoulder to determine when is right for him. He knows he doesn't need to rush anything. He's only 18 and he's only just turned 18. Yeah. He's got so much time and so much potential. If he's as good decision-making as he is a player at the minute, he'll know when is the best time to sort of progress naturally, I think, anyway.
Just on the interest from, I suppose, overseas clubs, that kind of points him towards another sort of former fullback who's turned into an attacking player and has taken, I suppose, the international stage by storm in Gareth Bale. Do you guys feel that Sessegnon could potentially be a Gareth Bale in years to come?
I think that's a very strong connection to make. I think actually the case he needs to be looking at more is the case of Jadon Sancho at Borussia Dortmund. That he made the decision at a young age to move over there and really develop his game, and he seems to be reaping the rewards of that, even just within a year. I think he needs to be careful to pick the right place as well, someone that is going to nurture him and not just buy him just to sell him on. And he needs the right players, he needs the right coaches around him as well, and the right sort of support staff as well.
Yeah.
He's got every potential to do it. We've seen this season and some of last season as well. He's not a left back. I don't care what you say. If you're gonna buy Sessegnon and play him a left back, you shouldn't have bought Sessegnon.
So what makes him a left winger then? What makes him a left winger?
It's like I said earlier. It's not. It's not so much. Do you know his positioning more than anything? He's got the instincts to get himself in the right place at the right time. Don't get me wrong, he's got the speed, he's got the pace. It's his decision making and his positioning. At left back, he does tend to get caught out. That's why we brought in Matt Targett from Southampton, because it allowed Sessegnon to move further up the pitch and actually use his sort of strengths, really. Sessegnon did an okay enough job at left back, but it's just wasted on him because he's a player you would want further up the field anyway, because what he provides in terms of attack compared to what he provides in terms of defence is just worlds apart.
Yeah, and Charlie's mentioned Jordan Sancho, who is a very incredibly talented young English player who's playing abroad, and I like that. Do you not fear that Sessegnon might get taken away by a bigger club, whether that be domestically or internationally?
I'm realistic as well. Like, I know he's probably not going to stay at Fulham forever. I mean, at the same time, you've got to wonder what the owner's ambitions are as well. We're owned by the bloke who's in the process of buying Wembley. He's already come out and stated, we don't want to make up the numbers. We want to actually, compete. What that means, I don't know. But at the moment, it feels like we've got the setup and the back in. Who knows what could actually happen? I saw a prediction somewhere that tipped us to finish 9th next year. Now, I know that's a little bit, thing for the first year. But at the same time, there's no reason why we couldn't technically do that with the right sort of backing and recruitment over the summer. We play the good football already. We've seen it reap rewards. We went on a 23-game unbeaten run. We got promoted after being 17th in November. Who knows? Anything could happen, literally.
Are you therefore confident that you're going to keep hold of Sessegnon for, well, certainly when it gets to September? Do you feel that
100%? Yeah, I've got no fear and no doubt whatsoever that he will still be at Fulham in August.
Okay, and Charlie, have you got any doubts about that at all? Are you like 60-40, 80-20?
I'm probably a little bit less certain than Jake is, but I'm probably in that same boat. I think the opportunity he's got at Fulham is one that not many young players have had. Someone like, if you look at Will Hughes at Derby, he never had the opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to stay with Derby because we're in the top division. I can show my talents off here against the big teams. And then if I perform for a year, even 6 months, if he has 6 months where he scores 10, 15 goals for Fulham, he won't be there in January. He won't be there at the end of January. That's for certain. If he really hits the ground, he will not be there at the end of January, but I think he will be there at the end of this summer.
100%. If he'd said to me, or if we hadn't got promoted and he'd asked me the same thing, I'd have probably said no. But the fact we are a Premier League club now, he's going to have the opportunities that he's wanted and to do it with the club that he wants to do it with.
Yeah, certainly good for him anyway. Okay, so the full-time whistle's just gone. But
great timing.
Did you like that timing? That
was fantastic.
That was good. And no echoes this time or anything like that. Thankfully, I've got the right slide on as well, which helps. But my final question before we finish is, what does the future hold for Ryan Sessegnon? So, Charlie, if I start with you, because I know you've got to shoot off. So, do you want to...
I think bright things. I think he's definitely got potential. Like Jake says, he's got talent. He's got the right head on his shoulders. There's no reason why he can't go on to be elite.
Okay, thank you very much there, Charlie. Jake?
Yeah, the only way is up, and it's entirely up to him what direction he goes down, but he's 100% got the head on his shoulders to make the right decisions. He can literally do anything at this point, and that is my honest opinion.
Okay, well, it'd be interesting to see where he goes from here. I'm sure he will remain an incredibly talented young English player. Let's see what happens. Let's see what he makes of it. Anyway, please chuck in your thoughts and comments in the comment section below, and don't forget to vote in our poll too. What your thoughts are on Ryan Sessegnon. Definitely. Be sure to obviously check out our various pieces of content we have scattered across our site, as well as our football predictor at halftimecuppa.com, especially ahead of the World Cup. We're going to have a proper World Cup predictor. It should be good. It should be good. So be sure to check that out. As I say, before we wrap up, let's give today's panelists a social media shout out. So if Charlie's still here, Charlie, how can we follow you on social media?
You can follow me at Charlie Pumfrey on Twitter.
Brilliant stuff. And Jake?
You can follow me at Charlie Pumfrey on Twitter.
But seriously?
You can follow me at GT1196 on Twitter.
JT. Sound like John Terry, mate. Is that what you're going for?
Don't you dare say that. Me and you will fall out.
That can't happen. But you can follow me on Twitter too at DannyCook1996. So thank you to Charlie. He's just disappeared. But thank you very much, Jake, as well.
Pleasure, Danny. Always a pleasure. Never
Always a pleasure. Good. No, great talking, great discussing Ryan Sessegnon and Fulham. I bet you loved that. I bet you was probably so pleased to be talking about your own team. And
well, it made a change because I knew what I was on about for once.
Well, you've done it expertly. So well done. I've been your host, Danny Cook, and you've been listening to another episode of the Halftime Podcast. Goodbye.
Good night.